What's going on, Overland Sports? Back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the New York Giants injury updates to this point, as well as a sort of a recap of how they've been playing so far here in the preseason. And they look really good after two preseason games and training camp. I like where they're going. I like the direction of this football team. And they're going to be a very exciting team moving forward, so I'm excited for that as a fan. But some pretty unfortunate news for the Giants today. I guess it's good and bad news because last night we were really concerned about Kayvon Thibodeaux. And, in his situation, it's good news, but in terms of Darrian Beaver, that's bad news. Let's start off with Kayvon Thibodeaux. As the rookie has sprained his MCL, he's expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks, but the Giants remain hopeful that he will play in Tennessee when the Giants play the Titans in Week 1. That is scheduled for September 11th, which is in just under 3 weeks. Yesterday would have been that 3-week mark. Last night, of course, Thibodeaux went down. Everyone thought, this could be an ACL. This could be the season. He had the cart come out, but he waved the cart away. He walked off on his own power, went in the tent, came out laughing, smiling. Everything looked good. And then today we get this news. So good and bad. Obviously going to suck that he's not going to be playing the next game, and he's going to have to release himself into being able to play in, over 2.5, just under 3 weeks. I think, if I had to guess, Thibodeaux's going to play. He's going to really push to play. He's a rookie. He wants to play his first NFL game. He's probably anxious to get out there. And I think, younger guys, they ultimately, they obviously heal faster. So if I had to guess, Thibodeaux will play in that game, but Thaddeus Moss with a dirty cut block. I don't like that at all. I don't like that it wasn't flagged. I think it was a dirty play, but that is what it is. Thibodeaux should be back Week 2 at the latest, but, I think he'll be ready to go Week 1. Tough news, Darrian Beavers, he has torn his ACL and will miss the entire season. The entire 2022 season. So a tough break there for the Giants. Marcus McKethan also tore his ACL earlier. So the Giants' 5th and 6th round picks are out for the year. That sucks, especially because Darrian Beavers looked really promising in that first preseason game against the Patriots as a linebacker, which, of course, the Giants are thin at that position. So it was exciting to see what would happen there. But I think the turf at MetLife just sucks. That is a big reason in a lot of these injuries. You take a look at all the injuries that have gone down in MetLife, between the Jets, the Giants, and their opponents over the last, 10 or so years. It's ridiculous, but that is what it is, and that's obviously something that we cannot control. That's got to be the ownership that, gets together and says, hey, listen, this isn't good enough, and they got to fix something. But that is what it is. Hopefully the Giants can stay out of trouble this week of practice. And, of course, the next preseason game leading up to the first game of the year. And they can, be a healthy team this year. But Darrian Beavers, obviously, that's unfortunate news. Graham Gano, also tough news. He has a concussion. He's out with a concussion. Brian Daboll spoke to the media today, and he did say that him and Joe Shane are exploring the options to bring in a kicker if Gano cannot play on Sunday against the Jets in that final preseason game. But if I had to guess, 3 weeks is a long time. Graham Gano should be ready to go Week 1. Quickly back to the linebacking spot. I think the Giants could bring somebody in now at the linebacking spot because I think Darrian Beavers had a good chance to start. Maybe not Week 1, but at some point in the year. So I think the Giants bring in a linebacker that can make the 53-man roster and really compete here. I think that's going to be something they look to do, and so look out for that. Look out for the Giants signing linebacker. Now moving on to the game and everything that transpired over the past couple weeks. As, of course, the Giants have looked good. They're 2-0 in the preseason. I get that it's preseason and they haven't been really playing any starters, but at the same time, it's NFL. They're NFL games. They're up to NFL speed. So Definitely don't take anything away from the Giants. But looking at the box score, we'll start off with the game against the Patriots, where the Giants won that one 23-21. Jones looked pretty good in the two series that he played, 69 yards on 6 for 10 passing. Tyrod Taylor played a lot of that game, of course. 21 attempts. He had 13 completions for 129 yards. The Giants didn't turn the ball over in terms of interceptions that game. Richie James caught a touchdown. He was very encouraging in that game, as was Colin Johnson, who was also encouraging in the game against the Bengals. I think he has a chance to make the team. I actually think he's going to make the team. And it's interesting because, of course, I made the, what should the Giants 53 look like? But now that probably changes a lot with some of the injuries that we've had to this point. Darren Beavers, obviously, he won't make the roster anymore at that linebacker spot. So that frees up a spot. Who knows what they do with that? Some guys have really looked good. Maybe Darius Slayton doesn't make the roster. Alex Bachman looked fantastic, as did David Sills. So it's very interesting to see what the Giants are going to do. Antonio Williams, I think he looks very strong. And CJ Board, I think he has less of a chance to make this team after that special teams screw-up that he had in the game yesterday. He did not catch a pass against the Patriots, and he did not catch a pass yesterday either. So if I had to guess right now, I thought he would make the team because of the special teams, but the special teams has not looked good. So there's a lot of other guys you could put as the kick returner. You could put Wan'Dale Robinson. You can put Richie James. Those are both guys who, in my opinion, are very versatile guys, and they could play in that role very well. So let's see what the Giants ultimately end up doing in terms of the 53-man roster. I'm not really going to talk about that, though, in this video. But moving into the game yesterday, Desean Corbin looked really good. 9 carries for 27 yards and touchdown as a rusher. And then, of course, he had 4 catches for 15 yards in the passing game. Antonio Williams, 7 catches for 46 yards and 5 carries for 26 yards. So in total, Antonio Williams, he had 72 yards on 12 touches. So those are good numbers there for him. He is a guy who I expect to make this roster, and I expect him to be the running back number 3 for the New York Giants. Sandra Plasgamer, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he makes this roster. Jeremiah Hall, who I initially thought would make the roster, he hasn't really been playing much, so I don't see a spot for him. I thought maybe as a fullback. Gary Brightwell, we haven't seen him. I don't know what makes us Giants fans think he has such a, including myself, such a good chance to make the roster and a sure chance to make the roster. I don't think he's really showed much. I get that he could be used in special teams, but so can a lot of these other guys. Desean Corbin, I think, could be one of those players. But I think the Giants really impressed me last night offensively. Defensively, there were some really nice plays, I think, at the end of the game there. Tom and Fox with that big tackle, huge hit to end the game. Khalil Dorsey looked really good. He had a sack out of the secondary. O'Shane Zimenez, he had a bad special teams penalty on a Giants big return off the kick return. But a lot to really go through from these two games. Daniel Jones last night looked fantastic. He was 14 for 16 for 116 yards in a quarter and a bit. He did have an interception, which is not his fault at all. It went right off the hands of Daniel Bellinger. It should have been caught and was not, and then was intercepted, which I still think the interception actually hit the ground, but it doesn't matter, of course, in preseason. You're just looking for sort of to see how players play. Not a good look for Daniel Bellinger, but he has been pretty decent in here so far in preseason, so not a huge concern, but that drop was a little bit of a concern. But overall, Alex Bachman and David Sills, they're really making this tough for the Giants. they've been playing really, really well, and I think that there could be a spot on the roster for these two guys. I think the chance of Darius Slayton making the roster is now slimmer and slimmer. He did not play in the game yesterday, and he had one catch for 17 yards in the first game. So I don't know if the Giants, are really that interested in keeping Darius Slayton on this roster. I think they could very well take, instead of C.J. Board and Darius Slayton, they could take Alex Bachman and David Sills. I think that's definitely a strong possibility, especially with the way they've been playing. I think Colin Johnson's been really good too, and I think he will make this roster. But it's very interesting to see. It's going to be tough to see, but about a week and a half away from knowing what this 53-man roster looks like, and it's going to be very, very exciting. Overall, though, guys, some tough injuries for the Giants, but some encouraging news on Kayvon Thibodeaux. Darren Beavers, it sucks, but hopefully he has a quick recovery, a good recovery, and he's back in 2023. I think, he's a really good player, and I think he's got a chance to be a really strong player, and I think he's going to go back to what he was, before the injury. I think he's going to recover and be the player that he was expected to be. I think he's going to be a guy that comes in here with a chip on his shoulder and really plays well in 2023 and beyond, and I'm rooting for the best for him. So he'll be back. So good news on the Thibodeaux front, but overall the Giants, they look good in the preseason. They're 2-0 and good individual performances. The special teams needs to be cleaned up, but that just takes some practice, and that should get cleaned up, as Brian Daboll does not sound happy with that. But some good moral victories here, some good individual player performances, and encouraging signs from everyone here on the Giants through the first two preseason games. But guys, that is all I got on this video. You guys let me know down in the comment section your thoughts on the Giants through two preseason games and the injury situations for Thibodeaux, Gano, and Beavers. I will be live at 2:45 Eastern Time. That's in about 35 to 40 minutes. I will be live to do a fantasy football mock draft and talk some Giants football, so you'll see you guys all there for that. I'm excited to see you guys there. And as always, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. See you guys all in the next video, and as always, let's go Giants.